Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm so pleased to be joined by Joe Robert Cole, an Emmy Award nominee, WGA Award winner, and the co-writer of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Biggest movie in the world right now. Joe, congratulations on the success of the film, and it's a great achievement. I wanted to, I guess, start kind of a little bit at the end. We're going to talk about some spoilers here in this interview, but the movie is a huge tribute, obviously, to Chadwick Boseman, who died, and T'Challa is the character, and the whole movie feels like kind of a grieving process to get over that loss, and it's such a great tribute. And ending it with the reveal that T'Challa has a child, I found just like a real knockout. I saw this in a regular movie theater with real people, and they were just like kind of dead silent. I've never heard that really before at that moment. Can you talk about like getting there in the script, and when you decided you want to include that kind of reveal about T'Challa, I guess, and having a son?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate kind words. So where do we start? So we when we were the previous draft prior to Chadwick passing, his son was a part of that narrative. And so I think we knew, even once we had, decided not to recast, that we wanted young T'Challa, T'Challa's son, to have to be revealed at some point within the film. And the question along our journey of writing the script was how much of a presence should he have in the new iteration of the story. We loved the idea that T'Challa and Nakia had this child, and that and that T'Challa was well aware, as he was struggling with his illness, that they didn't want the pressures of the throne. They didn't want all of the all that comes with being a prince in Wakanda to be put on this child's shoulders for him to have a normal life. We love that concept, and it was really kind of like, so there were a couple spots where we were like, does it get revealed when Ramonda goes to Haiti and sees Nakia, or does it get revealed when in a flashback when after Ramonda has passed away and Shuri's kind of grieving, like the most intense part of grief, and I think we ultimately landed on that on the end as it really kind of a great coda to the movie, and speaking to the future. And that was one thing that Chad, he was such an optimistic person, and always one of the ways that I think we wanted to honor him is that kind of forward looking. The movie's about getting through grief and overcoming and finding a sense of optimism on the other end. And his I think the reveal of his son offers that in a very emotional way.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think this is a testament to you and Ryan as co-writers and your storytelling. Like, as a viewer, I was not totally shocked by the reveal, because like the way Nakia acts in Haiti, I was like, there's something, obviously she's been like separated for a reason, and not just because he died. And like, you're kind of like, as a viewer, kind of thinking that. So I think it's really good storytelling without revealing it there. I just was like, oh, this is really cool. So I do think it ended up being like the best possible way to do it. You mentioned like the original, like how much of the original script, I guess, were you able to keep, or did you have to go like a page one rewrite after he died and after the decision was made to actually make the movie, right? Obviously, I know that was such a fraught, probably very traumatic conversation as well, but like, did you start over, or were you able to like keep certain things? Like, how did that work?
Well, Telecon was always a part of the story. Riri was, always a part of the story. So the thread of Riri being a threat to Telecon, and vibranium, and the world powers looking for vibranium, all of those kind of narrative genre threads were similar to the version we had. So we had the bones of that. It was really the emotional journey. The first film really much more introspective and focused on T'Challa's journey and in a lot of ways his sense of grief and time loss. You know, he lost time during the blip and lost time with his son, right, during that time. So it was much more of an intimate exploration of his journey. And so that was the big change, was really exploring Shuri's journey, and the journey of not only Shuri, but the journey of Ramonda, Nakia, Okoye, in terms of like how they all process the loss of T'Challa and move forward, and how they looked at helping this nation they love move forward as well.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And I think another thing about the movie that is so great is all of these characters get these incredible moments. Like, you find space for everyone to have like a moment of either expressing their grief or how they kind of process the grief. You mentioned Shuri and giving she obviously steps up and becomes Black Panther, and then M'Baku is the king of Wakanda. Watching the movie, I know going in, obviously it was like kind of, at least the marketing was like, who's going to be Black Panther kind of teased, right? But it was like, it felt like watching the movie, I was like, oh, there's no doubt it's going to be Shuri, and it's just getting her to that journey, getting on that journey to accepting that mantle, right? And like, I found that really cool. Were there conversations for you guys of like who, I guess, like, it seems like, obviously Shuri is Black Panther in the comics as well, I think, right? So it's like you had that there, like, but like, were there conversations like seriously considering other characters, or was it always just like getting her on the path to pick up the mantle?
There was no serious conversation. We kick around, you know, you're kicking around lots of things, but I think there was never really any question that it was going to be her, and it was about taking her from where you know, she's very different at the beginning of this movie than the woman she is in the first film, and you know, starting her with, you know, the most brilliant person in all of Wakanda and perhaps on the planet can't save her brother with technology, and so then, you know, that puts her in a certain place, and finding her way to an earned way to, when she shows up in the suit, that you get those chills that you want, you know, and the excitement that you want, was a, you know, that was a part of the challenge, but I don't think we ever, you know, I don't think we ever really kicked around with any seriousness anyone else. And yeah, I think it's I think it's Reginald Hudlin. I think it was like 2009 Black Panther 5 or something. Yeah.
You mentioned like the evolution of Shuri too. I mean, obviously, like, when you're writing, and especially on the sequel, you know, the actors are playing these roles. Like Leticia in the first movie is so fun, and obviously it's a great counter for Chadwick, and I think their rapport is so wonderful. And obviously now going through that loss in real life for Leticia, and then as a character, it's a much different character. Like you said, are you like, and I found the performance so great. Do you, I guess I'm trying to, like, when you're writing it, are you knowing that, like, you know, like Leticia's being able to nail these emotional beats in a way that people haven't necessarily seen from her before, at least in the franchise, right? I know she's obviously a great actress and done a lot of different things, but from a Marvel standpoint, like, this is definitely a different side of her performance in the character as well.
Well, in person and in many of the things it shows, she's quite introspective and intense, and like, you know, that's there. Like, you if you know her, you know that's there. She's just such a wonderful actress. You see her in the first movie, and you think you're getting an entirely, you know, because that is who she is as well. You know, she's not a one note human being or actress, right? And so, but yeah, I don't think there was ever any question that she could handle the meatiness of the role. I think the you know, challenge was, you know, those are big shoes. You know, she was very close to Chad, and just in a personal way, you know, he meant so much, and for her to take on, like, that's a big ask. Okay, we want you to not only, like, while you're grieving this loss of someone who you were extremely close to, we like you to fill his shoes in this movie, And so I think I'm so proud of the work she did, and really commend her on her work, because she owns it. She owns it in this film, and is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really cool. It really is. We've gotten this far. You mentioned like Talokan and stuff, and Namor obviously was part of the original version of the script as well. I can't believe I've gotten this far. One of the things I just love, without talking about this, but I love these movies. I mean, you see it in the first movie with Killmonger, and obviously he returning here in the sequel in the when Shuri becomes Black Panther. But the way you guys handle antagonists, I find just fascinating, because you give them completely like fully nuanced POVs that are actually like relatable and understandable, and not positioned as villains. And it feels so unique for, I mean, not even to denigrate the MCU, which I love, but so unique for the MCU and just this kind of storytelling in general. Can you, I mean, why is that so? I from a viewing standpoint, I feel like it is so important, but like, how much are you guys cognizant of that, and like able to execute that? I think is just so incredible that you get these. They're not even villains. They're just like a antagonist for the story, but it is so great, and it makes the character so much more, I guess, fulfilling and rewarding, I guess, as a viewer. But I mean, can you talk about how you guys kind of break down those ostensible villains, but obviously much more?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, the approach to every character is about, in some ways, empathy, trying to understand their point of view, trying to get into their shoes, and see their actions and their words through their lens. And I think we apply that to all our characters, but in applying that to an antagonist, trying to understand and come up, because no one sees themselves as a bad guy, right? And so how and maybe trying to find a point of view that is understandable, and so in some ways relatable, and then what we did with Killmonger, and I think we leaned on again here, was this idea that it's how the antagonist wants to go about dealing with their issue that takes it beyond, that moves them into the villainy, the area of villainy, more than it is their point of view itself. And I think that emotionally can help root you with that antagonist, so that when they are competing with your hero, there's just emotion on both sides, and it's not just a one-sided fight, and those you think about a movie like Heat, and De Niro and Pacino at the table, and who are you rooting for? I don't know. I'm kind of rooting for both of them, right? Like you're like, and so that, like, when you have that two-sided dynamic, I think it makes the scenes and it makes the moments much more alive.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as a viewer, it definitely comes through. I love that you mentioned Heat, because I know like it seems like you and Ryan are obviously so conversant in like classic movies of like certainly the era probably you grew up in. Like we're probably close to the same age. So I was like, I feel like Heat. I know for like Riri, I think I saw you mention like Terminator 2 as a jumping off point, and it's such a great shorthand, I think, when you're in the storytelling, because you're like, oh yeah, like that is what it's like, so good. I mean, how much, like when you guys work together, like I guess like how much of your shared cinematic history are you able to like lean on, I guess, like that?
It's great, man. It's like, well, he grew up loving movies. I grew up loving movies. Nate Moore grew up loving movies. And so it's like you get to kick stuff around there. There's like a funny, there's a funny joke we would have where, in like 90s movies, someone would hand someone handcuffs and they would be like, put those on. There's like that. They would always have like that. And we would die. Like we had this like joke that we thought when Ross gets handed the handcuffs, that we would like, and I remember this in a joke putting it in the script where Dreyfus, she hands it to him and she's like, put those on. Just because it's like, just thinking about those films and how those moments are funny. We obviously, it was a joke, but like just kind of trafficking in the same movies, that a love of the same type of movies and joy from having watched them growing up, and it makes it fun. It makes it fun.
For sure. You mentioned before, like the death of Queen Ramonda. Obviously, Angela Bassett has this great performance, great character. I mean, like, it makes sense for the story, but like, was there debate about actually going through with that, especially with like so much other loss in the film? Like, how did you guys? It lands really well, but I would imagine that was a conversation, and especially then taking Angela out of the franchise, I would imagine too would be a conversation as well. So like, though, I mean, like, obviously the characters come back, but I guess, can you talk through like how you guys decided that?
Yeah. It was definitely a conversation. You know, she's a beloved character. She's, obviously amazing actress. And it served, when we were looking at Shuri's arc and her journey, and how do we get the most impact in taking her, to vengeance to giving her a darker turn, as she continued to kind of be resistant, and as she's working through her sense of grief, what could take her to a darker place. And that really felt like the most impactful thing that could happen to her. And she's lost now her brother, she's lost her father, and now she's lost her mother. And she has, and that takes her, so that it feels earned when she wants to kill Namor. It feels earned when she's with Killmonger, and that's who she called up, the vengeance guy. And it felt earned that she's presented with the choice of that she ultimately, chooses when she's fighting Namor, one of reconciliation versus vengeance and war. And so to make it feel earned, we felt like we needed that emotional loss, that the impact of what that would be. So
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I will say, like, it is, the way it kind of locks in is really great, because like you said, like, it does set up the revenge aspect of her kind of like quest there, or a journey, and it like really does kind of like knock over the dominoes in a really satisfying fashion. But I was just, again, another thing about the movie that's completely surprised, because like, there's no way they're gonna do this, and then you guys did it. I was like, oh man, okay, I guess literally really anything is on the table here. I know we have to wrap up, but like, I guess I wanted to ask again, starting at the end, so that you have the great scene with T'Challa, son reveal at the end. I mean, I'm sure you, as being part of the MCU, you probably are aware that there are dozens of people who are just always speculating about what these movies are going to be and stuff. And I know there was like speculation that there would be that this movie, I guess I would say, would like tie into some other future Marvel movies, right? Like either Fantastic Four or whatever's coming. Was that something you guys discussed? Because obviously, like, ending it with the scene with like with Shuri and young T'Challa is so powerful that having another scene after it, I think, would have been maybe redundant or whatever. But I mean, how much of that conversation you guys have, even just broadly, if you don't want to talk about that, but just like how much you have to kind of set up what's coming in the future? I don't think, obviously there's Riri in this and stuff like that, but like broadly in the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe, how much of that was discussed, and did you guys consider having more in there, I guess?
in the first film, we had some different discussions about how it fits contextually with movies and stuff that come after, and our credit scenes and stuff like that. This film, I think we really felt like there was never a discussion about any kind of connectivity. We felt like the nature of the movie and what we were trying to do with the film made it such that it should just stand on its own. And so that's how we approached it. So there were never any discussions about anything beyond what we ended up
Yeah.
land going.
I mean, as a fan, I would say that's great, and it really works well. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is the biggest movie in the world. Like I said, it's in theaters now. Joe Robert Cole, co-writer of the film, thank you so much for doing this.
It's my pleasure, man. Thank you.